I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
All right. Good
Hang on.
morning from London.
Good morning.
Good afternoon to
Is
you.
anybody live? Can we see anybody?
I've got no idea. Let's assume it's just you and me, Fabian, and Matthias in Brisbane.
Oh yeah, Matthias is having a drink, right?
5 p.m. happy hour in Queensland. Wolfgang de Poli, I saw you click something on Facebook earlier, and we chatted last night. So welcome, Wolfgang.
Yeah, we're live.
So Fabian, let's just assume it's the four of us for now. It's definitely beer o'clock in Sydney right now. I can tell you, 6 p.m. on a Friday. Forget about anyone in Sydney being online right now for us. Like, just forget it. And Las Vegas, 11 p.m. on a Friday. Don't know if we'll have any people left in Las Vegas, but hey, this is kind of cool, Fabian. We're chatting, and I think we might be live.
Yeah, I think we have 3 people. We're good.
Good. Okay, so hotel tech, lazy pricing, and industry buzz is what we're going to talk about this week.
Absolutely.
So who wants to go first? You or me?
Good question. The second one is missing. What happened to our slides?
No, it's only the preview thing.
Ah, okay.
To Google.
So you're leaving the preview on, right? Or you're putting it into mode now?
I'll leave it like this, only because when I do full screen, then I can't see your face anymore.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I want to see your face. You know what? Next week or next time, we won't use Google Slides. We'll use Pages or whatever. Sorry, what's it called? The Mac one?
Okay.
This one. Keynote. We'll use Keynote next week, because then I can full screen and still see you. I need to see you, my Wolfbianski.
On a Friday afternoon, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Friday morning. Espresso o'clock.
Come on. I'm right in the middle. You have coffee. I have green tea. You have beer soon. Okay. So should we try the lazy pricing stuff? So for anybody who is new to it, just like ourselves, we kind of thought it's a much more interesting thing if you can join us in the conversations and we just have a chat about stuff in the industry. So we generally break it down in a couple of areas, one being answering questions that you might require answer to. I want to ping pong around us. Second part is really just around news, then cool new startups on the planet. And there was a fourth one. Oh yeah, demystifying stuff, especially those buzzwords that you hear. And today we're going to go for machine learning.
Plenty of buzzwords, plenty of acronyms, and they're confusing for some people. They're confusing for us most of the time. So let's try and cover that in a way that the simple person, me, when Fabian first tried to explain cryptocurrency to me and blockchain, I think it was, you were very patient with me. I think it was 3 different conversations over 3 weeks. Yeah. Anything I got on blockchain, Fabian. And I still think I just know the basics. But anyway, we're not going to talk about blockchain this week. No. Let's start with, what is this? It's a stormtrooper, right?
It's a stormtrooper. So it's the adoption of today's Shakespeare, right? To be or not to be, in that sense. And if you pass me over the screen, I've got a couple of questions for you, mate.
Sure thing.
So,
hang on a second. Do this.
What do you think is the worst hotel in Australia?
The worst hotel?
Yeah. Or what's the worst hotel you've ever stayed in, if you can say it?
Oh wow. I've stayed in so many good places, average places. I don't know. At the top of my head, I can't think of the worst. You got control now, I think. You share yours.
Just got to
find out. It would. I'm sure there's. I mean, in Australia, I've been pretty lucky in terms of that's where I used to live, and the hotels were all pretty okay. But what does TripAdvisor say, or what does? Can we can you get a list up of hotels? I mean, Golden Chain. I'll put it this way. You know what? Let's just talk about Best Western. I'm not going to have a go at Best Western, but what I want to say, which I think is, well, it's my way of answering your question, is that brand consistency, let's say with Best Western, is a challenge. I was going to say shocking. I don't know. I'm trying to be PC here. I'm not trying to, don't want to offend anybody. But look, in Australia, if I stayed at a Best Western, I'd be like, okay, it's going to be Best Western. The first Best Western I stayed at in Sweden, in Stockholm, blew my mind. I'm like, hang on a second. This isn't a Best Western. No, it is a Best Western, but my God, the Best Western properties in the Nordics, the Scandinavian region are lovely. And I've met and spoken to American colleagues who, by chance, avoid Best Western at all costs in the US. Like that's your last option in the US. Oh, it's a Best Western. Then the same people come over to Scandinavia, and it blows their mind when they're at a Best Western. I don't know. Do you?
I stayed in one in Bangkok the other week. Superb. I mean, I can't fault it. Right? It's you get what you pay for. Right? Essentially, the bed was good. The room was big. The shower was great. Had good power shower. The breakfast adequate, easy to get around. So it was in the heart of Sukhumvit. But let's go back to something where people can actually learn something from us here.
Are you on booking.com page right now?
Yeah, can you see that?
Cool. Yeah, I can see it. Cool.
Okay, fantastic. So let me say I want to go to Australia, and I'm trying to replicate what people would do if they never been to Oz, right? So essentially I say, okay, I'm not 100% sure when I want to go, and then I hit this magic search button. And it defaults to our top pick. And can you see up here, 19,256 properties found?
Okay.
That's an awful lot of properties, right? So I'm thinking, which one is the worst? Because I know your top pick, Fairshore, fantastic, Elements of Byron, congratulations. So I'm going all the way to the bottom, and I click to page 67. Now,
I don't know if people search this way, by the way, but anyway.
No, that's just for us.
Okay.
My point here being, right? There's 19,256, right?
Yeah.
There's 15 properties per page.
Okay.
That means I can't see more than 1,000 anyways. So the question that I want to answer, I can't answer because they won't show me. So then I thought like, okay, they're only showing me 1,000 properties, right? Let me check out what happens if I go to any specific day. 13th December. Good day?
This year, right?
Yeah. 9,000 properties found. Okay. So I'm thinking, okay, when do I get my 19?
Based on availability, right? Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah. I'm going into January, 7,000.
Yeah.
I'm going into February, 9,000.
Right.
It doesn't matter which day I'm taking over the next 365 days. There is never more than 9,000, 10,000 properties. So where is the other 9,000?
Go September 2018. Maybe it's just that it's all booked up.
Could be. 7,000.
But there's supposed to be 19,000. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. My point is we've just eliminated 9,000 properties. So where are those properties? Now, second of all, if I scroll down, I am still only getting up to page 67. So if you are on page rank 1001, you're out of the picture. Now, you might say, not going to happen, right? Okay, let's go to Sydney, right? Sydney, New South Wales. Let's go into my birthday, 27th of June.
Day before my brother's birthday. You're a Cancer star sign.
I'm Cancer, absolutely.
Cool.
You're 1st of November, right?
Yeah, Scorpio. All Saints Day. Many countries in the world have a public holiday on the 1st of November, which I think is nice of them to do.
So 387 properties found, only for that. So here you can see that I'm now only having page, cranky, 25 pages.
Okay.
Right? If you go to bigger cities, London, for example, London is my love. London has unlimited properties, I believe, right? And I'm going from a perspective of, I'm a tourist, I want to come to your destination, it's most probably a first-time acquisition. How can I actually convert you into my properties? 1,400 properties.
Okay.
Yet, all I'm going to see is 1,000.
Oh, is that 1,000 pages? No, that's 1,000. Oh, I see. Got it.
You can't go more. So my question is, all of those hotels that don't do anything on, like, how do you get up there? Is it price? But for that, you got to change your price, no?
Oh, I see. Are you saying they've been dimmed or they've been delisted somehow or they're off the grid, so to speak? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe they never share their pricing. Maybe never they change their pricing. Or they just sit there and hope for the best. Or they're just waiting for the market to fill up. But easiest way to get up is pricing, no?
Yeah, well, you talk about pricing and booking.com. Do you want me to show you some stuff? Let me show you some stuff here.
Go for it.
Let's share my screen. Okay, good. So I think I put a question out there, right? And you did a survey as well. Basically, the question was, how often, on a global basis, how often would you guess hotels change their pricing in terms of how frequent they change their pricing, in terms of how many properties do we think change their pricing daily? Now, your survey results, let me see if I can understand this. 30% said less than 25%.
Change their pricing daily, yeah.
They change their pricing daily. And then that's the most popular guess, actually. There are a few other guesses there. Okay, well, let me dish the results. So the source, my source, is a friend at booking.com. Don't need to name my sources, I don't think. But essentially, according to Booking and the data they have, which is arguably the best data source in terms of market pricing, market dynamics. There's others, okay, there's other marketplaces, Expedia, etc. But anyway, let's put this into context as well. So if you go to the very bottom page of booking.com, they have 1.5 million listings, right? But they categorize home rental, vacation rental, separately. 855,000. So basically what we would talk as the addressable market, 671,000, let's just say 700,000. I always conservatively say, look, there's 400,000 properties, because I remember booking.com having 400,000 hotels quite clearly. And of course, they're now up to 671. So there's always debatable. What is the addressable market in the hotel market? So according to stats that were shared with me by my buddies at booking.com, let's say 15% of hotels globally change their pricing daily. The next 15% of hotels only change their price once every 2 weeks. So that's 30%. The remaining 70% change their pricing less frequently than once every 2 weeks. And that blew my mind. It still blows my mind. And I think some people may not be surprised by that, because we're looking at the global market, including hostels, B&Bs, apartments. I mean, obviously big chain and a hotel. I mean, we talk about big chains all the time, but actually they're a very small segment of the overall accommodation industry. Do you know what I mean?
It's still crazy. Come on. It's 70% of the industry is not changing prices.
So how often did you change pricing at
Back in the
IHG or back in the day, Tune?
I mean, fair enough. It depends, right? It really depends on what kind of high level or what kind of hotel you have and what kind of market you're operating in. Central London is different to the outskirts of Runcorn or Chester.
Where's Runcorn? Oh, Chester, I know. Yeah.
Next to that's your neck of the wood, or even further, no?
Don't get that much. I don't really.
But you still changed your pricing, right? And I hazard a guess that the 70% is not even looking at their pricing. Right? The lost opportunity is crazy.
So can I just point out something for the hotel tech people listening in? The addressable market, the opportunity in pricing, whether that's distribution of pricing, whether it's pricing recommendations is huge. If 70% of all of these, let's say, accommodation providers are changing their pricing less frequently than once every 2 weeks, they would probably benefit from some pricing intelligence. But Fabian, let's just, you're Fabian now. Let's do a quick role play. I'm the owner of a property in Malaysia, right? Actually, it doesn't matter where. I don't know why I said Malaysia. Now, tell me, the owner, why must I change my price more often? We set our price. The price is good enough. Why you want me to change? That's terrible. I shouldn't even do accents. But why should I change my price so often? To teach me as an owner.
It's not about so often. It's about changing in line with your market demand, right? Changing in line with your own demand and looking at your competitive set. What we see is that there's an awful lot of people. It's like the demand is coming, and I just go and say, hey, I'll take the demand, and I don't even care if I make more money.
But every year we have the same school holidays. Every year it's Chinese New Year. The demand, we know it. The calendar tells us we're busy, not busy. And how?
Fair enough. Okay, if you're busy, chances are the rest of the market is busy, right?
Yeah.
So you can monetize on that. Now let's reverse that, because people always say, oh, you know, technology price changes only works when the demand is high. No, let's do a simple calculation. I mean, we saw there is, London has 1,000 properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say really bad day, 50% occupancy, right? So that means...
I don't think London would ever be 50%, no?
Yeah,
Never
they'll most probably cry if it's 50%.
Exactly.
But imagine it to be 50%, and you will have, just for argument's sake, 10,000 rooms, right? 50% of that means 5,000 rooms are there. If you're a 100-bedroom property, that's 4,900 rooms for you to go and get. Chances are you can discount 60, 70% of that because they're sitting somewhere else out of your remit. But pricing is one element that will go into the filtering process when people make decisions.
Yeah, price,
right?
Reputation, location.
Correct. But your reputation will not change overnight, right? It takes time. You gotta generate reviews, then get yourself slowly up the ladder.
It takes time to build up a great reputation. I think you can lose it pretty fast though.
Yeah, yes and no. It depends when you get the bad reviews, right? If you're on Uber and you have 2 reviews, 1 in 5, you have a 2.5, right?
You know
but
what?
if I have 1,000 5s and 1,
speaking of
nobody
Uber,
cares.
I give every driver a 5.
I still don't understand why you would do that.
I give every driver a 5, even when they're really not a 5. Because why am I busting their balls? Why do I want to?
Because they're giving you a service. You're paying for a service.
Randomly,
they rate you. What's your Uber rating?
Well, this is my point, right? I want to get, so randomly, I'm at an airport, I was bored, and I went, oh, what's my rating? I'm giving them all 5. Anyway, I think it's 4.8 or whatever. I'm like, who bucked me down?
Yeah.
I don't think I can see which was the trip where, like, what did I do?
You need to look at it before you take the ride and after the ride. That's how you decide how I'm going to.
That's too much work, sorry. But anyway, I was disappointed.
It's true. I mean, everything is around dynamic pricing in the world. Even supermarkets are adopting it, right? Rice farmers are adopting it. Uber, Grab, whatever is the flavor of taxi service in yours. And then you kind of go into hotels and you kind of go like, I'll just forget, right? And I don't know if it's an education thing or if it's, I really don't know. It's just mind-blowing.
You're right. There's a lot of education to do in let's call it the long tail, all those small independents, actually at all levels. However, I think what hoteliers need to realize, if they don't already, is that consumers are already educated towards dynamic pricing, the Uber surge pricing, but also the airfares. Okay, we know the later I leave it, the higher the airfare price is. I can lock in a low price on Ryanair, but I've got to prepay and forget about any changes. All of a sudden at a hotel, they think, oh, I can't lock them in. I can't get.
It's like I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to be mean to you. And We asked a couple of questions last week, right? So as you know, we did a bit of a survey, asked people what do they actually want to talk about, and we got phenomenal response. We had.
By the way, it's early in the morning for me here. I don't know why everyone's blurry. Is it just blurry? Why have you made the pictures, the faces all blurry?
Oh no, I don't know if I have consent from all of them. So if you know them,
well, I can
tell
see
them they're on
Jackie
TV.
and
Oh,
Matthias.
come on.
I can see you and me. I don't know the rest.
You see?
Actually, I think I can guess. But anyway, go ahead.
You can Google image search. So we did this survey question about which questions do you want to answer, and that's one of the things that kickstarted our idea for the two smart fellas.
That's right.
To answer those questions for you. And one of them was really around, is your pricing a result of your forecast, or is your forecast a result of your pricing? Now, Mr. Munoz,
well,
what's your story on that?
I remember this question, and I answered C, because I don't think you've put down, in my opinion, the option, which I believe is relevant to this. So do your forecast drive the price, or does the price drive the forecast? And then, so let's just talk about forecasting. It's dynamic, it's variable, it's a moving target, but a forecast is an input. A forecast is an insight into what do we expect tomorrow, next month, next quarter. And based on that forecast, we then take actions. I'm not just talking about pricing, but let's talk about what are we now? It's November? Is it November, right? Okay, so November. Let's say the forecast for the dates in between Christmas and New Year, so December 26th to 31. We're looking at a lull. It's a drop. The forecast says low demand. Let's say it's a corporate hotel. The corporates aren't traveling. Okay, great. So if we have that kind of granularity in our forecast, that reliability and accuracy to say there's a lull between December 26th and December 31. Great. Trigger the campaign, trigger the demand, do some demand generation to then give you some base. If you can basically stimulate demand, if there is a way to stimulate that demand. In other words, C is that it's a dynamic thing, and we're looking at, it's circular is what I'm saying. Forecast pricing, and then the output from forecast should always be campaign or demand generation. And so I say C. I'm not sure if I can explain that correctly or clearly. But
it was interesting when we discussed with more and more people on the how do you call that, the
LinkedIn, you did it, no?
The LinkedIn chat, right? It was interesting to see that a lot of people actually differentiated and said, hang on one second, it depends, I'm talking strategy and long-term or short-term tacticals, right? So in the sense of that, my forecast is really a mashup out of my pricing. When I do my forecast for long-term and I set my price positioning and my strategy. So essentially they saw a differentiation between price positioning and pricing itself. And I have to agree with that. Normally when you do your budget, when you do your long-term forecast, you say, okay, what can I do? What kind of marketing activities do I do? What can sales go out there? And you look at all the things that probably are not impacted directly by your retail pricing.
That's also not once a year thing. That should be a daily, weekly at least.
Come on, we have seen that 70% of people don't look at their pricing every 2 weeks, right?
True.
We're now saying everybody is forecasting every week.
Well, the tech is there. The tech is there, right?
That's my point. The tech is here, right? And fair enough, you're talking about product positioning, product differentiation, what you want to do from a long-term perspective. And I agree, in that case, forecast is most probably driving more of your pricing or your price positioning. And then when you come into your booking window, all of a sudden it seems like, no, my pricing is driving my forecast. And for me, it's like, no, it's still your forecast driving your pricing, right? If your forecast outside was good and your forecast inside is solid, then why should I change my pricing? If I pick up 20 rooms and I know that I'm going to pick up those 20 rooms, the question is not, should I change my price again? I should only change my price if there's an exception to the rule, right?
Yes. And the question for you though, does the price elasticity of demand influence that relationship between forecast and price?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, elasticity of demand is function is the demand of price, price is the function of demand, right? So you can reverse engineer however you want these days. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think people do that parallel in their minds. How busy am I going to be at that? It's not how busy am I going to be at that price. What they're looking at is, dear Mr. Owner, I'm going to be 80%.
Mr. Who?
Right? Dear Mr. Owner.
Who's that? Oh, Mr. Owner.
Mr. Owner.
I thought I heard Rona. I was like, who's Mr. Rona?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mr. Rona. Hey. So I'm going to be 80%. What prices are we charging? Oh, we're charging $150. Okay. And that's generally where then a small conversation is, we should be 160 or 140. Instead of the question is, okay, if I drop to 110 right now, will I get 90%?
Yes. Well, what you're just saying now, I think, let's say quite visually. So I remember in the early days, not even the early days, I remember price match times. And I'm sure it's the same with Logic and other RM systems. You look at the evolution of price within a competitive set. So here, can you see my hand? Can you see my?
Yeah.
Okay. So here is today, arrival date. No, sorry. Here's the arrival date. And this is, let's say, the last 45 days. And you see the price evolution visually should roughly track like that, right? And then we see competitors like we're here, drop price, drop price, drop price. What you're saying is, if your forecasting and pricing is correct, here's your forecasted price, and you should almost be flat towards it, or at least gradually move up towards it. You know, I should have a slide for this, but anyway, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you see, I mean, I looked at hundreds of properties, and there's this heartbeat movement, and it seems to be like, hey, we have picked up something, Eric, let's move our prices. Move our price, and then you kind of go like, nobody's booking our hotel anymore. Let's drop the prices. Wow, people are booking again. You kind of have that heartbeat moment where you just go like, you're serious?
When you visualize the data, you also see things, you see flat lines. Like no change of price. And then you actually look into it. This was properties in Paris. And it's like, that hotel actually, the revenue manager left. No one's replaced them. They haven't changed their pricing. It was easy for us to see graphically and visually. And then there are, I'm talking about RM, but there are real-time rate shopping tools that surface this stuff as well, right? So
we did a survey with eHotelier. Right? 700 people surveyed. Yeah. Most of them GMs, revenue managers. And
which
about
country? Which region?
All of them. Okay. Global. 60-70% of people said we have a revenue management system. Right? And we didn't differentiate between brand or non-brand. Right?
60 have a system.
Have a system.
Okay.
Correct.
That's high.
Yeah, you could argue that it's most probably it kind of contradicts the statistics that we have of the 70% not changing prices.
The Hiltons and the Marriotts.
Yeah. But when we then ask, okay, is it beneficial? About 70% of people said it extremely beneficial, very beneficial. And then you had beneficial, right? Now, if it's so beneficial, I don't understand why people don't go for the technology. And even one step further, why wouldn't you go on autopilot? Do you know what I mean? I have
your car, you mean?
No, for my hotel pricing.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, there's, you're saying, why wouldn't you just go autopilot? I think that I'm going to put my ideas hat back on, and that's where we first met, to be clear and just full disclosure.
To be clear, we did not meet before.
No, that's right. But in terms of, let's say, I wouldn't say the education, but the way we explained the ideas solution was that the price recommendations and the forecast optimization process, right? It's very there's a structured process, is doing, let's say, 50% of the recommendation. The last step is the human validation, because the algorithm in ideas or the how it's been designed is that it cannot know all of the variables into the price recommendation. And the example I'll give you is the ash cloud. I think 6 years ago now, 7 years ago. Remember that volcano erupted in Iceland, and there was an ash cloud that went all.
Nobody flew anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in Adelaide, actually, in South Australia at that time, Stanford property, and ash cloud. While it hung around, no flights in and out. So actually, the hotels were full. It wasn't that demand dropped. Yeah, sure, people couldn't arrive, but there's people who were leaving couldn't leave, and then you had local people who were just driving in. So the hotels were all full. Now, what I was always told was the nature of an algorithm, whether I'm speaking about ideas or something else, but the nature was conservative. In other words, where there was an unexpected and outlier impact on demand where price should spike, and that it's arguable there whether we should be spiking prices when people are trapped because of an ash cloud. But equally, if there was a political incident or a terrorism attack where demand dropped, the nature of the algorithm was too conservative on the down and also the up. And that's where the human can use that information, that very, very local information, to agree on the price recommendation or be slightly more aggressive or slightly more conservative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, Evan.
Hi, Evan.
I should do D&D, right? Hey, Evan. If
Hey,
you're
Evan,
online, good morning. How are you, mate? We've got 4 reviewers now. Evan's.
No, I'm sure if we'll send it out afterwards, it'll be all right. I want to be interested to hear, before we go into algorithms, that literally, while we can talk algorithms, we have no idea about the math behind it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? You asked about autopilot. I still think that there needs an input from a human. I don't know. Do you agree or disagree?
I think with the advances that we have done in technology, it's less risky now than ever to do that, right?
Okay.
But then you can argue, most probably a data scientist will say, oh, but what algorithm are you using? Are you using a K-cluster? Are you using a naive? Are you using a decision tree map, right? Those are different kind of algorithms that are used in machine learning, right? But again, you and I would sit there and go like...
Buzzword alert. You just said machine learning.
Exactly.
We're going to cover that later, right?
Oh, yeah. But I'm interested to hear now, what caught your eye this week? What made you go,
yes.
Booyaka?
Yes. Hey, it's nice actually having these, what do you call them? These slides here.
Yeah.
Because I can see what's coming up. Anyway, we'll keynote next week. Anyway. Okay. I like Smart Travel News. It's a Spanish publication. I recommend all Spanish-speaking people to subscribe. So this week, according to a survey from Airbnb, so según Airbnb, solo un 46% de los españoles elegiría un hotel para sus vacaciones de Navidad. Basically, they're saying only 46%. And with these kind of headlines, I'm like, why are you saying only 46%? It's just 50%. It's 50-50. They're basically saying only 46% of Spaniards are going to stay in a hotel for their holidays this Christmas. That's
only 46%. Where's the rest staying? Airbnb?
Well, Airbnb is saying Airbnb. That's the inference. So I mean that caught my eye, in the sense that I'm an Airbnb fan. I'm a hotelier, and a lot of times in public forums or conferences, technology suppliers or hoteliers feel like, oh, I have to keep stum about Airbnb. I'm a hotelier. The conversations about booking directly and the OTAs, Airbnb is a taboo subject. I've actually worked in some places where don't talk about Airbnb. That's a separate conversation for a beer or a coffee. However, I have a strong opinion as a hotelier, as a hotel tech supplier on Airbnb. I think what Airbnb have been able to do is offer something, a unique local experience. And there's obviously consistency issues here, and there are some great Airbnb experiences. There are some not so great experiences, right? And I've used Airbnb a lot. At one point, it was my first port of call. When I was with a startup, that's the first thing I looked at, and I wasn't suffering. It wasn't a terrible experience. I used to say, if I'm staying in a city 3 days or more, that's Airbnb. but then in some cases, I just stayed overnight. The only hassle for me was picking up those keys and coordinating with the owner. But basically, one of my best Airbnb experiences was a Paris visit. And I was staying in a hipster neighborhood, Canal Saint-Martin. And I chose a very hipster apartment in the hipster neighborhood. And I was hanging out with hipsters. I was having a Parisian hipster experience. It was awesome. But this apartment was very, very cool, great location. But the owner had handwritten a list of recommendations, which Airbnb encouraged the owners to do. Sometimes it's a crappy piece of paper typewritten with typos in a plastic sleeve. Other times it's whatever. But I'll never forget, she recommended for the best croissant in Paris, here, not the local patisserie, but blah, 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 blah. She had 4 or 5 different recommendations, which completely opened up the neighborhood to me. I didn't have to go to TripAdvisor. And because I already had a sense of, I could relate to this owner. This is a cool hipster lady in Paris. I'm gonna tune into her recommendations. It opened up the city. It opened it up in a way that, okay, let's flip this around into the hotel experience. And this is where the crux of my point is leading to, where how many times you've checked into the hotel and it's like, okay, credit card, please, blah, 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 blah. Breakfast was at 7 o'clock in the morning. The elevator's over there. Next, as a check-in experience. My one and only time that I've been to Marseille in France, it was me and a colleague. The hotel we were staying at had only served breakfast. So I was, checking in, had a good day, doing that sort of check-in experience. Reception was okay, not rude, not cold, whatever. And during the check-in, I was like, what do you recommend for us? We're going to go for eat later on somewhere here, and I'm the eager beaver guest, and she's like, I'm sorry, I don't live here. I live 2 hours away. I can't tell you. Now, I'm not having a go at the receptionist. Why doesn't the hotel have a list? Why aren't they training the receptionist? So people are asking about local things. Not this restaurant, they're a tourist trap, but this one. Yeah, and that's where service delivery or the art of hospitality is, in my opinion, missing in many, many hotel experiences, where Airbnb are really training their hosts to be hospitality specialists. So whether it's a bit of a creepy vibe and you're sharing an apartment with somebody in Airbnb, or whether they're a little bit too interested in what your deal is when you arrive, Airbnb have really industrialized the art of hospitality and really building that experience that travelers look for, where unfortunately hotels, there are going to be exceptions where hotels do deliver exceptional hospitality, but unfortunately it's inconsistent, right? There are good Hiltons, there are Tide Hiltons, there are great Ritz-Carltons, and do you know what I'm saying? That art of hospitality is not consistent. And Airbnb, I think, is exploiting that in that way. The hosts can replicate that local experience that hotels don't seem to be able to. They could, but it's a training effort and it's an education effort, and it's a
yes and no. Yeah, yes and no. And I think we have to. I look at it from a slightly different angle. I agree with you. So when Rafa, Sabrina, and I went to Milan for the first time, and our flight was delayed by an hour and a half, and we arrived at midnight,
okay.
Right? Then we had to take the taxi. So we arrived literally at 1:30 a.m. at the destination. The guy was waiting for us.
Airbnb or hotel?
Airbnb.
Okay.
So the father of the owner was waiting for us, brought us up and said, oh, by the way, here's some fruits and some food and some wine because I know you must be hungry from all the delay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Blew up after that.
Yeah.
It was literally like, love this place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Haven't even been around or don't know what the neighborhood looked like.
Yeah.
Because I saw the inside of the taxi.
Yeah.
But already blew my mind. Now, coming back to where I'm thinking it's a slightly different benchmark. So I then went to the Gold Coast, to the Marriott. Was it the Marriott? Yeah, it was a Marriott. And I checked in, and this girl at reception looked at me tilted her head and went, would you like some chocolate? I feel like some chocolate. And I looked at her, I was like, looked around, was like, okay, is this a joke?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, sure. And she gives me chocolate. And then she said, you know what goes really well with chocolate? Champagne. Would you like a glass of champagne?
Oh.
I was like, sweet. Yeah. Okay. It's 6 p.m. It's
This is a true story. This is a true story.
True story.
Okay.
Culturally accepted.
That's never happened to me, but anyway.
So then I get that. She checks me in and all of a sudden it's much nicer. Right. After that, the entire hotel experience, I couldn't care less if there was something on the floor or not, because I was so blown away by that service.
Yeah.
But you know what the strange thing is?
No.
When you go to a hotel, you expect a certain level of service. And I think that's where the difference comes in, that when you go to an Airbnb, you kind of don't have a perception of how we grow up, of what a hotel needs to be. A hotel, you need to go in, right? If I go at 1:30 a.m. in the morning, I have to find the receptionist to check me in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we now go into hotels and we say like, oh, we got service, there's something seriously wrong, because hotels should be professionals at giving service.
Yeah, well,
right?
Exactly.
We should be professionals, but that's what we expect. Where we're going to Airbnb, we kind of say like, well, it's some dude somewhere renting out his place, and it could be either good or bad, but let's face it, all I want is to crash for the night or make some local experiences, right?
Yeah. Now you're preaching to the converted. I mean, I could rant for hours about that art of hospitality. That I mean, you and I both went to hotel school and have hotel background. I remember the first 5 years, at least, when I was traveling for business, and all of a sudden I'm in a hotel technology business, hotelier, but now I'm the guest, and I used to have to, it took at least 5 years to relax when I was in the hotel, because my eyes are still going from side to side looking at the ashtrays in the lobby, and they haven't cleared that one with, because that was one of my doubts.
I still do.
You know what I mean? And many times we're at dinner and my wife would be like, Eric, relax, you're the guest. You're the guest now. I'm like, they've missed this, they've missed that. And that was, when you're trained as a hotelier, you never lose that, even though I'm a lot more relaxed with it. I never don't notice it. Do you know what I mean? I never, if there's a lack of service delivery, and equally, when there is some nice hospitality there, you notice it.
It's a surprise and delight. How many times do I now hear about brands talking to me about, hey, we're doing this new concept. It's called surprise and delight. And I said, oh, you're one of the first? Question mark?
Yeah.
But I think the rise of Airbnb, if you look at the expectation economy that we're living in right now, I believe by 2030, Airbnb will be the biggest accommodation provider, right? I'm pretty sure Priceline will not be happy with the fact that they passed on the taxi deal stuff a couple of years back.
Which taxi deal?
There's this rumor or urban legend that that somebody went into Priceline and said like, hey, we've got this fantastic idea with the taxi stuff. And they went like, thank you very much, not interested.
Oh, okay. You mean Uber, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Uber or some other dude.
Okay.
But essentially, that's a couple of $1 billion.
Okay. Hey, we've done Airbnb.
Yeah.
By the way, if someone wants to ask a question, whether it's on Facebook or Zoom, put your hand up.
I think next week we have to share Zoom, the link.
Yeah. Exactly. Fabian, what startups have you looked at this week?
I've looked at startup. It's kind of a startup. I've looked at how do you call that? Handy. Yeah, I know.
Not a great name.
Handy has different meanings across the globe. In Germany, it means another cell phone. So it's a slang word for your mobile phone.
Yeah, well.
I'm pretty sure where you come from, it has different meanings in life.
I'm going to say is I would maybe not use that expression. A reach around. Anyway.
Essentially, it's
what is Handy? I mean, you know what? I know who Handy is, but tell us.
What's your thought on it? Okay,
honestly. Okay, so in London, I usually stay at the Good Hotel London, and they have a Handy there. I've seen Handy at the Yotel in Singapore. I've seen it at quite a few properties. Honestly, not once have I even picked it up. I've got two phones that with me. I've got data roaming. Without even picking it up, don't even know what it does. The one benefit in Singapore was it actually illuminated the time. So when I walked in and out of the room, rather than looking at my own phone for the time, I can just glance down and go, oh, okay, it's 6 o'clock. So I've never picked it up, never used it, because I have data with me. I'm online. I'm a connected person, whatever. Yeah. So am I missing something? Is it only for tourists, or who's it for?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the initial idea, I remember that we looked at it when I was back at Tune for Alice. Alice was an in-room kind of app, right? Okay. Where you pick it up and you could do anything with that device. But the industry is going to bring your own device. Roaming charges are being dropped, as we see in Europe, UK, everywhere else in the world. You have crypto guys who are going after that to open that up in a decentralized fashion. So there's a lot of movement in that part. So that leaves you with the in-room experience, kind of the in-room concierge. And
but you have Wi-Fi in the hotel, right?
Correct. But a friend of mine went in there and tried to order room service and couldn't find the menu. So he ended up calling who they pointed him back to the Handy, and he was like, but I can't find it, until he went down with the thing and let them show it to them.
Oh my God.
So
just take the order over the phone. Anyway, so is it a guest service thing rather than using the phone?
I think it tries to be your companion. And I can see, like, for my parents, it'll be okay. If you're not a business traveler and you want to save money on your roaming charges, right? It's fantastic. You can take it out. My parents could call me. So if you visit friends and family in other destinations, you have a telephone number that you can call them with locally. So I can see some of the benefits.
Or WhatsApp.
Well, WhatsApp, yeah. My mom WhatsApps me and then calls me to say if I got the WhatsApp.
Oh, quickly. Right? Can you see what I'm wearing here? I'm not sure. I can't see myself.
Peru.
So I have a WhatsApp group with my family. So my mom, my brother in Sydney, my sister in Abu Dhabi, and me in the UK. I think my brother WhatsApped me on Tuesday to say, hey, there's three sudden death matches coming up in the World Cup qualifiers. Australia playing Honduras in Sydney, Denmark playing Republic of Ireland, and Peru playing New Zealand, the All Whites in football. Australia won, Denmark won, Peru won. So for the first time since 1982, you see my little thing? Peru have qualified for the World Cup. So have Denmark and Australia. So I've got 3 horses in this race, baby. I might even go to Russia. But sorry, you triggered that because you said WhatsApp. Let's go back to Handy. Do you use Handy, Fabian?
I have
traveling by yourself.
I've never used the Handy. Actually, where I'm staying, you don't get Handies.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, cool. Buzzwords.
So demystifying machine learning. So machine learning has been around actually for a couple of years, but
sorry, just a thought. But next time we do this, maybe we should play some music. And I'm thinking of Kraftwerk. We are the robots. Do you know that song, Kraftwerk?
Yeah, it depends. If we're not talking machine learning and something else.
Just a little bit of
surprise and delight.
Okay, sorry. Go on.
Go back to your hotelier roots.
We need some music. Anyway, go ahead.
So, if you look at machine learning, people will assume you've heard of it. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, all that shenanigans, right? Mm-hmm. If you hit the next slide, and you've got time, feel free to read it, right?
No, you explain it to me, please. I can't read all of that.
There's essentially 2, you can argue 4 different learning styles of machine learning. So go to the next slide to make it easy.
Oh, this is better.
They're much easier, right? So in machine learning, it means a machine is learning something. So there's some training involved. And that training or that learning can be done just like when we look at our children. If you go to a Montessori, Julia, whatever it is, a normal school, there is different techniques that are being used in order to learn languages, math,
So you're saying the machine or the technology, it has the ability to learn.
Has the ability to learn, and it can be trained, just like when you go to rugby with Cody, you train certain things.
Bodie.
Right? Bodie. Why do I call him Cody always?
Cody's a cool name.
Cody is a much cooler name.
Cody's a meta search agency, anyway. Or was it Coddy?
Okay.
Anyway. Yes, at rugby. Sorry, go ahead.
Isn't it kayak?
That's a different thing. Yeah.
Okay, so two biggest one here is really supervised and unsupervised, right? And when people ask you about machine learning, you should just throw back and say, okay, you're talking machine learning. What kind of training method do you actually use? And if they don't understand, you can always go back and say, okay, supervised learning, super easy. I show you pictures, duck, that's a duck, that's a duck, that's a duck.
Donald Duck, Daffy Duck.
It's a duck. Fantastic. Is this a duck? Yes. And then I show you not duck, not
Mickey,
duck,
Mickey
not
Mouse,
duck, not duck.
Bugs Bunny. Okay.
And essentially it will come
Is
out.
that a visual? Are you talking about visual recognition now in this example?
It could be a visual recognition, could be words, could be anything, could be data, could be trends, could be anything that you throw in. But for the purpose of us now, let's talk about images, right?
Okay. Yeah.
On the other hand, you have unsupervised learning. That's really just give your kids 3-4 years ago crayons, close the door and say, enjoy yourself, right? If I do that with my 4-year-old or my 2-year-old, that room will look amazingly beautiful.
Yeah.
There has clearly been a learning experience from, I open that thing, I put it in my mouth, it doesn't taste good, but if I put it on the wall, it looks really cool. Okay. So I'm doing more and more and more and more of it. Yeah. And if I don't like it, I stamp on it and break it, right? So learnings have been applied, and if it's a permanent marker, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
But those are the demystification of it is, it's a machine that will learn very similar to how we learn. Of course, you can write complex algorithms in the backend to do predictive models in the future. But as we learn, machines also have to learn, right? And then they will give you a output to say, that model that I'm currently using will be X amount percentage accurate, right? And that's where there's more powers in that. But essentially, that's the demystification of machine learning. So it's not too scary.
Let me ask you something from a hotelier's perspective. How does machine learning, or how could machine learning help me in my day-to-day? Or is this so advanced tech, it's not really applicable to hospitality?
It is absolutely to hospitality. I mean, from a revenue management perspective, of course, every time there's a new trend, every time there's a new variable, data source, whatever it is thrown in, it doesn't need to learn because it applies the learnings from previously. That's different to a statistical look at it, to just say, hey, I've got this regression model and it says ABC. But if you give me D, then I would never.
What's a regression model, please?
Oh, come on. It's a regression model. Look, it's a forecasting model similar to like a curve that will forecast. Your machine learning will look a bit like an MRI scan, right? From where it finds connections between data set. And that's where I think the biggest thing is that
is that if I say heuristic learning, is that part of the statistic modeling, or am I talking?
Once comes from computer science, once comes out of mathematics. But you're now wanting to mystify the buzzword again instead of demystifying it.
I do like a bit of mystique. Okay, cool. Hey, Fabian.
Yeah.
You know I like precision. It's 1 minute to 8 o'clock. In other words, we're at 50. Actually, no, we started 3 minutes late, so we have got 4 minutes if we want to keep this on the hour.
So I give us the last 3 minutes.
Let me quickly explain to anybody who's not already seen the SMART. It's arguable how smart we are, but SMART is an acronym for sales, marketing, and revenue tech. We're hotel tech nerds. We're specifically sales, marketing, revenue tech nerds. So, and there's two smart fellas. It's actually a great tongue twister. If you've got kids or you've got colleagues, try saying it 3 times. No, just try saying it quickly. One smart fella, he felt smart. 2 smart fellas, they felt smart. 3 smart fellas, they felt smart. They all felt smart together. try it. Try it yourselves right now with your kids. Have fun with it. And that, Fabianski, Wolfbian, I think was episode 1. But
I think season 1, episode 1.
Yeah. What are your words of wisdom? You've got 3 minutes. We've got 3 minutes.
Okay, but I think the key thing for today was really pricing. You can...
How do we get this tech to work? This Facebook Live thing. That's, for example...
that's number 1.
Yeah.
But I think the words of wisdom for people is really do more pricing, right? Hope you enjoyed the show. Hopefully
use technology where it can help you on pricing, rather than trying to build your own regression model or
your own Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. But actually, I think what I'd like to share is that I never use the word expert, because I'm learning every day. I love the fact that I can learn every day and share and benefit from shared learning, so to speak. But certainly a specialist. I mean, I literally hotels, high school, hotel school, hotels, hotel tech since I was 19. It's all I know. Literally, you can ask my wife. She changes the light bulbs at home. She's way more practical and handy. I'm good for lifting heavy stuff. Don't mind chipping in. Point, lift, move. Yeah, no problem at all. But I obviously, you and I have worked together for a long time and know each other, and we don't often get the chance to speak hotel tech stuff. If I meet the other dads at rugby, the other coaches, and it comes up, so what do you do for a crust? Software for hotels and resorts. Oh, right. Is that like booking.com? Oh, yeah, that's right. We connect. And that's it. That's as far as I can go in the conversation. But we're all hoteliers together. We can get into this stuff. And I think there's a very niche, small, tiny audience. It remains to be seen how much of an audience we might build. But I enjoy talking this stuff. Even though I know my wife and my friends, we're like, oh, yeah. Let me tell you a quick story. Can I tell you a quick story?
Go for it.
Okay, so whenever we travel as a family, I look after accommodation, mates rates or whatever else. I'll find the best deal on Priceline, name your price, whatever. Hotel tonight. I use every angle to get the right place, because it's a family trip and it's hotel or apartment, whatever. So it's on me to get the sweet deal in the right, I'm not talking about price, but the right thing. Anyway, 2 years ago, I think it was, we went up to Scotland for a weekend to see friends in Glasgow. And for whatever reason, maybe I was traveling, I couldn't get around to organizing the apartment or the accommodation. My wife did the booking. And I didn't even, she's from Glasgow, she's got it. So she'll find the right location, blah, 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 blah. We arrived, we checked in, it was an apartment in the city, 2 bedrooms. So, the 2 kids, Maya and Bodhi, everyone's sorted. It was fine, good location. And then we were at our friends for a barbecue, Kirstine and Damon. And during that barbecue, we're in the backyard chit-chatting. And I said, oh, I just realized, that's right, sorry. Kirstine asked, how's the apartment? How's the place you're staying? I'm like, it's good, it's fine. And then I realized, Ash, I forgot to ask you, who did you book it with? Where did you make the booking? Like, what did you use? What? She said, well, I just went to Google. And I'm like, deep breath. Yes, I know you went to Google, but from Google, did you go Airbnb, booking.com? Like, where did you book? I mean, this is, we're friends, right? So I'm saying, like, this is kind of stuff that this is what I kind of do. So when I say, how did you book? I specifically want to know what channel and blah, blah, blah. And my wife's like, no, I just went to Google. So I'm like, deep breath. And then Kirstine says, yeah, I just go to Google and I find the booking. They just went to Google. And so these are intelligent people, university degreed, intelligent professional people who, in this case, just went to Google to make a booking. And
Did you enjoy it?
It was great. We had a great time.
How was the price value?
Well, my wife's Scottish. I don't ever have to think about, did we overpay? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to think, I don't have to worry about that. My wife will find the best deal. As a true Scot, will always find the best deal.
My wife is Brazilian, same thing.
Wolf Bianski, this has been an honor. Let's do this again next week.
We'll see you next week.
All right, man. Take care.
See you later. Have a good weekend.
Ciao.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Now you spend 10 minutes figuring out how you can switch it off.